For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We are heading into the new year. And this is the time of the year, though, when people look back at and just go, what a dumpster fire of a year. Can't wait for it to be over. We heard that so much during the pandemic because for some reason people magically thought that flipping the calendar to January was going to make everything go away and start with a clean slate and everything would be perfect. Well, what a crock, right? We know how that went. So coming up for the next 30 minutes, this is where I'm actually going to be positive. I know that people last week were kind of like, I was talking about holiday traditions and how it's okay to not follow them. My team was sort of like, wow, that was sort of a downer when you were talking about Christmas and like not wanting to be around family and screaming kids and everything. And I said, I'm telling you how not to get stuck into that misery, I guess is the word, and do your own thing. It's okay. Well, here's how I'm going to set you up for a great way to end the year, all right? It's coming up on the Scribble, and it starts right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
JB here, back on the Scribble as we wrap up 2024. Now let's actually just stop there. Do you say 2024 or do you say 2024? It was weird because I've thought about this. In the 90s, I used to say 1998, right? 1999. But for some reason, when we hit 2000, I never went, because it was 19, right? I never went to 20. For some reason, I always said 2000. I don't know. Why is that? What do you do? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. All right, so as I teased earlier at the top of the show, this is the time of the year when people go and say, I'm looking forward to getting out of this year because it could be for any number of things, right? Maybe I had a bad breakup, maybe I had an illness, maybe I had whatever, and that's fine to want to get past that. And if that's sort of your mindset, which is it's a new year, new, lease on life, new attitude, new this, new that. Great. It almost sounds like a New Year's resolution. We know how those go. But why not end the year on a positive note, okay? Now, I am far from a motivational speaker, okay? I'm really not. I'm not this raw. There aren't, people have those quotes all over their house. Make today the best day ever. You are loved. I don't give into that shit, okay? I'm not one of those people. I don't need to be told that to have a good day. I don't need to be reminded of it. The day is what I make of it, right? I mean, it's all in If I want to go into the day miserable and snap at everyone and just not have a good time, that's on me. It's not fair to do to other people, but that's on me. Any kind of experience that you have, it's up to you to either enjoy it, make the most of it, or do nothing and just complain about it. So at the end of the year, as you're preparing for the new year, try looking at things this way, okay? When I was hosting our syndicated radio shows, and there's a bunch of orange boxes flashing on the bottom of my computer screen. Let my team know that. I don't know what's happening. It's like a progress bar is happening, so they'll look into that as I'm telling the story. You get new technology for the new year. That's what you do. Get rid of the crap that's been slowing you down. But something that I did when I was hosting my radio shows was look back at the year that was. Because I would get to go on, I was paid to vacation, we would do red carpets, we would have celebrity interviews, we traveled. We did travel programming spring, summer, and Christmas, so at least 3 times a year. Sometimes we would even do 2 places for Christmas and 2 for summer. And that would, involve hundreds of pictures or countless interviews that we would do on location. And so I would look back, I would go through, you just think about your phone, you've got a photo collection that essentially is a timeline of your year, right? It's going to start in January and it's going to recap up to today. And so that's what I would do. So between Christmas and New Year, when people are either recovering from, their overindulgence of holiday treats and meals and, whatever, and you just want to loaf, you just want to lay around and loaf and be a blob, okay, fine. Or who are just counting down the days until the new year, like everything's miraculously going to be better because you flipped a calendar and it's now January. Look back at the year. Yeah, we've all had shitty stuff happen to us throughout the year. I'm not saying that life is perfect and there hasn't been anything bad. Trust me, I had 2 years in a row where I lost a dog. I had, one died of a blood disease and the other one had, he had an infection that essentially killed him. And that was in less than 12 months. So I had one die in September and then one die of August the next year. And the one that died in August, I also had my grandma die of corona a few months later. So talk about a double whammy when you've got a grandmother and your first pet. Ernie, my golden retriever, was 13 years old. He was really the dog that I had when I moved out from my parents' house, and I got him right away when I got my house. He was with me through most of my radio career and my adulthood when I spread my wings and fly and get my own place. And so that was a lot. And of course, during the pandemic, we were all dealing with 10 times more shit than we would normally be dealing with. But having said that, I still went back and looked. And again, how many memories were you creating during the pandemic, right? You couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do it. I was still doing interviews with celebrities on the radio. I was still just even, those last few months that I had with my dog. So I would look back at things like that. So when I was on the radio, let's go back, let's say 10 years now, that I would go from January and we would have award show season. So if I covered, a red carpet event, or if I was at the award show and we featured that on the radio, I was looking at that. I was looking at the red carpet pictures, and then I would go to our web coverage. I would go to our own website and I would look and I would listen to some of the interviews that I did and just take that walk down memory lane. Then we head into February, which for us is continuing awards show season, but it's also TV sweeps. And so we would be doing potentially red carpets of shows if there was, a reality show that was happening or there was premieres or something. We would go and do that and we'd have celebrities on the show. So I would listen to those phone interviews or I would, look at the pictures or whatever we had and kind of look back at February. Now, then I would also, things with my husband, if we went somewhere, or even just like we made muffins one night. We don't bake, we don't do any of that kind of stuff, but for some reason we were at the store and there was a muffin mix kit or whatever you call it that was on clearance or something, and I just said, let's just do this. And this is what's funny is by December, the end of December, we had totally forgot that we did that in fill in the blank, March, April, whatever it was. And what ends up happening too is you go and say, oh my God, that seems like so long ago. Or it seemed like it was just yesterday. So you have those good memories. And we laugh because there's the pictures of us with, flour from when we were baking, flour on our faces. Or, him holding up the wine glass or the burnt muffins, the ones that we did on the first batch. And so we take that pause and we kind of just, reflect on that, and we have a laugh about it. And we look at, then we took pictures of how dirty, messy the kitchen was after. We got stuff everywhere. So that was a fun memory. And then, then we go to April or, whatever. You get what I'm saying. And so then, maybe I had another trip. May is also the end of the TV season. So what reality show finales? Were we at The Voice, America's Got Talent, American Idol? Which ones did I cover? Which celebrities were on the radio with me? And take a look back at those and have a listen to those clips. And check out the web coverage. Also, too, like what else was going on? Did we have a family wedding? Did we have, right? It wasn't my wedding, but I was there and I had a good time, and we took pictures when we were dancing, or we did videos of whatever during the event. And it's fun to look back at that. And then just in recent years, what I've also done is I would call that cousin or whoever it was that got married and say, all right, okay, just looking back, and I got to your wedding in April, and just having a laugh because I see these pictures, you probably haven't seen them or whatever it was, and then I'm an interviewer at heart, so I'll go and say, like what do you remember about that? Do you remember? Did you see that? Did you know that was happening? Did you see the video of us dancing to whatever? Like where were you when that was happening? And then it starts a conversation, and so then you have a great moment now, including somebody in your walk down memory lane. So it's not just my husband and me. Now we're video chatting with my cousin, and then she comes on with her husband, or whoever it was, and now we're all kind of talking about those memories and what it was like, and it's just fun. Then we get to June, right? And then maybe that was the start of your summer break, or your kid graduated, or whatever it was. And then you just kind of take a look back at that. So it's one thing to have that mentality. And I don't even know. If I were to guess, I would say 9 out of 10 people, 8 out of 10 people, maybe 7 if I'm being generous, would have that attitude of, oh, can't wait for the year to be over. Let's just, because you're, for some reason, finding something negative about it. True. Like I said, negative things happen. Bad things have happened. But that's enough for you to go and say, get me the fuck out of this year. Get me the fuck out. If it is, maybe you need to flip that mindset. As my disclaimer said at the beginning, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not that rah, let's go team. Trust me, ask my team. They're just across the way. They're not going to say, I don't do the pep rally. I don't do the, okay, everybody, let's make it a great day. Let's go. I hate those people. I want to punch them in the face. And I'm not a violent person, but they make me want to punch them in the face. But so that's how we end the year. And I've done that now since before my husband came around, and he's been in my life for, I guess, married 8 years, in my life for 9 years. And that's whether he wants to participate and join me, because obviously, like I said, a lot of that's my career stuff, me looking at the radio stuff, but he's a part of that too. And just the different things that we've done. Do you remember when we went to the mall and you had poutine for the first time, and or you tried Canadian coffee for the first time? Do you remember that back in January? All right, well, let's go to the tape. Let's watch the videos. Or when we went to the park, and because, like I said about my cousin thing, like, what do you remember about that? So I asked my husband, when we were doing that, what were you thinking? Or when we were going to this spa for the first time, or when we were on our way home from the spa that first time, like, what were you thinking? Because that's not something you necessarily ask. You ask that at the beginning when you're in that flirty kind of a stage. And now I want to punch myself in the face for the way I used to act. I would always do that to him. So what are you thinking? Tell me what you're thinking. And now I'm just like, oh, that's so fucking needy. That's so like, so gross. So gross. But when time has passed, now you can go and say. Because we would go to, at Halloween at the zoo in Winnipeg, they would do, it's not Christmas lights. I don't know what you call it when it's Halloween. But basically like a, Christmas light display or something. And that, they did it at Halloween. And so I remember he'd never seen something like that before. So in that moment, I'm not asking him, what do you think? Isn't that cool? Well, we're experiencing it in the moment. But now when we go to those pictures and say, what do you remember about like that big dinosaur light display? Do you remember even seeing that one? Did you have a favorite that night? We've never done that whole, let's dissect this on the way home. We don't kind of do that recap like an hour later. We just don't. It's kind of like, we had the moment. Okay, great. We're going home now. What's next? We bask in the moment, and then we put it aside, we carry on, and then, we'll come back to it another time. And so we kind of save that for the new year. That's our end of the year recap. What do you remember about the light display? What did you enjoy about it? What was the favorite one? What did and that's how we do it. So I try it. I'm not saying devote an entire day or entire weekend or from now until however many days we have left until it's the new year, but just look at it that way. It was painful the year that my grandma died to look, because she, the last time I saw her was March of that year. I guess that was kind of when the pandemic was. So I sit there going, the last time that I saw her was at bingo night at the home, because I lived closest to the home, and Wednesday was bingo night, and it was kind of like the one, my mom and my aunt and my uncle, they would each go and visit her 2 days a week. So she never didn't have a guest in the evening. She never went without having a guest, if that's an easier way to say it. And so I would go on Wednesdays because that was bingo night. And so I lived, not even 10 minutes away. That was kind of my night then. So the grown-ups all had their 2 nights a week that they would go, they would alternate, and then I would go on Wednesday. And so that was the last time that I saw her. And I remember it distinctly because bingo was just done. We went back up to her floor, and the staff had the TV on in the dining room. And it was just when Tom Hanks had been diagnosed with COVID, and then the NBA had canceled either the season or a game or something. They had basically made the announcement that they were stopping games. And I remember the nurses talking about it, going, what's going on? My grandma had dementia. She wouldn't have understood what was happening anyway. And so it's not like all of a sudden there was going to be this panic in the room, because in the home, I'm not making a joke, but most of the people didn't know where they were anyway, right? So... But I just remember the nurses kind of being like, what's going on? What is this? So that's kind of my last memory was, I remember hearing it. I remember seeing it on the TV. They had CNN on. But I remember doing a puzzle with my grandma after. We had a bit of wine. She wasn't really supposed to have wine, but they kind of turned the other way. When we did a puzzle, we had some wine. And that's my last memory of her. Is it shitty then to know years later, or months later, or weeks later, when the world shut down and all of a sudden we couldn't go see her? Am I okay with that? She's, like I said, she doesn't know where she is. She certainly doesn't understand the pandemic. And then we can't go see her. We can't be around her. We can't be there. We can't do anything. That's a shitty, shitty feeling. But I have the good memories of, we had a fun bingo, we won, she won her little popcorn twist as a prize that she picked, and those are the great memories that I have. Obviously then when I'm scrolling to November, which is when she died on Black Friday of that year, and, is it painful to realize that, that was the November that it happened? Absolutely, but here's the thing, I just spent 10, 15, 20 minutes having a good laugh and kind of those good memories and looking at the pictures from bingo and doing all that. So that 20 minutes is not soured by that couple minutes of sadness that I feel when we get to November, right? You balance it out. It weighs it all out. And so that's just how I do it. That's how I look at the new year. Now before I started doing that, I don't think that I ever was one of those people who said, I just can't wait for the year to be over. Because here's the thing, when you're in school, you carry on in January. It's not like something comes to an end and something new starts. Same thing when you're at a job, when you're in a workplace. It really is sweet fuck all. But, generally you maybe have the entire Christmas break between Christmas and New Year's. A lot of places will shut down. You don't have to work. So it does feel a bit new then at that point when you go into the office in January. But your coworkers are still your coworkers. Your shitty boss is still your shitty boss. Your desk is still too small, or it's whatever. That stuff doesn't change. So as much as you tell yourself that I'm going into January with an open mind and positive, and I'm going to have these New Year's resolutions, we know you're not going to keep the New Year's resolution. We know it's not going to happen. Nothing is going to miraculously change with your workplace. That's, it is, the people are still the people. The work is still the work. The policies are still the policies. So again, if that's what makes you convince yourself that you can go into work on January 2nd, okay, fine. The reality, though, I'm sure quickly sets in. So try it this year. Truly. It's not like you're joining a cult or you're having some big sort of change of, just look at it that way. Spend an hour maybe, or even, 5 minutes for every month. Just go and scroll through. I don't have kids. If you've got kids and a whole we have a very boring life right now, my husband and I, because I really don't work anymore, and he's a fitness model, so his very routine. His life is very routine. We have our dogs. That's kind of it. We're not traveling as much as we used to. We don't have kids that are going through milestones. So I would think as a parent, this would be even more exciting for you to kind of look back and see how your kid has grown over the year. And you've got the kids, the school play, the soccer game, the piano recital, whatever it is. So it's just, even think about all the pictures that you take on your phone. What do you do with them? Maybe you post them to social media because you want that attention from everybody. Everybody's social media is basically like a photo album of your life. But do you go back and look at it? Yeah, sure. Sometimes Facebook or Instagram, whatever it is, will kind of compile a year in review sort of a thing. Great. But it's a quick slideshow that kind of just throws you through the year and gets you, but take a look back. And then if you do have other things, so let's say, your kids did make you something and you have it on your fridge still, go and take a look at it. Or if there was the dance recital or whatever it was, watch the video again. And you'd be amazed at how much time you can pass by just taking that walk down memory lane. I know it sounds so kind of cliche and we'll look back at the year that was, but truly do it. And sure, I started doing it because I had great success. So for me, there was a lot to look back on and be proud of and be happy about. But I'm also not convincing myself that, okay, this year was a shitty year and next year's going to be better just because we flip a page of a calendar. If I had a shitty life on December 30th, I'm going to have a shitty one going into December 31st, and I'm sure as hell going to have it going into January 1st. That's fact. That's not, I'm not sugarcoating. I'm not convincing myself otherwise. Your life is, if January 1st is on a Thursday, let's say, if my life sucked on Tuesday, it's still going to suck on Thursday unless I do something about it, unless I change something. Just like you can go and say, yes, the weekend is here, and then you dread Sunday night because it's like, oh crap, it's back to work Monday morning. Okay, great that you lived in the moment and enjoyed the weekend for what it was, but why go into Monday now feeling like it's a shitty time? That's the thing that doesn't make sense about life and how people will kind of view it. You're happy for the weekend, great. So then there's a temporary distraction for 2 days that you don't have to deal with the bullshit at work. All right, same thing with the new year. Really, there's nothing different about it. So I'm done trying to convince you to feel the way I do and look at things the way I do. So I'm just going to leave it there. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to come back on the Scribble right after this.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Now, because I've got a smart-ass team here, and I love them because we've been together for, I guess it's almost 20 years now. That's first of all ridiculous to think about. When I've been saying that, nothing changes when you go in, December 31st on Tuesday, everything is going to follow you into Wednesday. There's no big, change. And then, of course, Bonnie, my executive bitch, she says, well, your insurance flips over and like things actually change. And so she's trying to, poke holes into my claim that nothing changes just because the calendar flips a page. So what did you say? Say that again. Tell them what I said to you. I told you to fuck off. I'm not even going to try to lie. I'll be honest with you. Yes, I told Bonnie to fuck off. That's how we're going to end this year. I want to be clear on this. So we're going to end this year by me telling Bonnie to fuck off is how this show is going to end. But this is, I think, maybe a good point. This summarizes it. It comes full circle as to what I've just been saying the entire, what are we at, 26 minutes of the show now, which is always look on the bright side of life. Dude, they're waving their hands over across the way. That's really what it is. That's all my point to you today is just, have a laugh, look back. Don't just think that because if that's the kind of motivation that you need, I feel like you need new motivation because the reality is going to hit you in the face on January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, when you realize your shitty job is still your shitty job. Your shitty life is still your shitty life. Your shitty relationship is still your, right? So if you're not going to make those changes, and sometimes it's hard to, change a job or a relationship, whatever, then at least try to find the positive in it because, I don't know, that's like when people make New Year's resolutions. I wonder, though, if people are actually disappointed that they didn't follow through on them or they're kind of going into it expecting they're not going to follow through. Right? There's a couple of different approaches to things like that. So that's been my key. Yeah, Bonnie, fuck off. That's how I'm going to end the show. But yeah, I don't really know what there is to say. Again, anybody who hosts a show that talks about the holidays is going to tell you to, stay positive, get through it, be kind to people, be kind to yourself, take care of yourself, whatever. You're going to do what you're going to do. That's the reality of it. It's like when I was on the radio and radio stations wanted me to be telling listeners to get the vaccine, to do this, to vote, to whatever. I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's your life. If you want to get vaccinated, if you want to vote, if you want to not, participate in this, not participate in that, not speak up, that's on you. That's on you. You have to live with it. I don't have to live with it. You have to live with the decision. So that's how I kind of like to end the year. And I think that, as we get older, people, the sort of the running joke is you just become an old miserable grump or whatever. This is maybe one way to combat that, right? Is I'm not going to be a miserable person who, I'm just trying to think. It's kind of, we've got 2 minutes left. It's tough to kind of set up a story about my dad, but, I was very early in my adulthood able to recognize that my dad's a very negative person in the way that he talks, the way that he views things, the way that he expresses himself. And I just mean like with hand gestures and things like that. So I was able to identify that and go, okay, I don't want to be that old miserable guy that nobody wants to be around. That after the family get together, people are talking, or when they leave when my parents leave the family get together, that everybody's like, wow, he was, grumpy again. Oh, he was an asshole. Oh, he was bitchy today. I don't want to be like that. And it's not about having the reputation. I really don't care what people think about me. I don't know, why would I want to just be putting myself, why would I want to make myself miserable? Why would I want to be doing that all day, every day and live like that? It doesn't sound fun. It's really not. It's like somebody like Alex Jones or one of those people where he's always fired up about something. He's like, okay, maybe that's a character, but is he like that in real life? And if he is, that's a problem. Hey, he's playing a character, I get it. But some people are just genuinely like that. I don't want to be that person. So it's up to you how you live your life. It's up to you how you want to go into the new year. If you feel that it's some kind of a big, miraculous, change, go for it. There you go. That's up to you. I hope you have had a great holiday season. It is continuing now as we head into the new year. Happy New Year as well. As I said on the show last week, do what makes you happy. Yes, you can make others happy to a point, but, you come first. You're the one who's looking out for yourself, so take care of yourself. That's the way to do it. That is the way to live. And again, just my opinion. Do with it what you will. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Happy New Year, everybody. Talk to you in the new year. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.